There was a time when I thought achieving more was just a matter of luck or opportunity. I worked hard, pushed myself, tried to please everyone, but deep down I was still stuck in a cycle of frustration. It felt like I was always one step behind the life I truly wanted to live, until I realized it wasn't about doing more, it was about doing things differently. I was settling, accepting less than I deserved, allowing access that drained me, holding on to patterns that kept me small. It was only when I decided to raise my inner standards that everything began to change. And it wasn't because the world got easier. It was because I became clearer, stronger, and more loyal to myself. These 8 rules were born from that turning point. They're not random tips, but actions I actually practiced, requiring courage, boundaries, and conscious choices. And little by little, they turned me into the woman who doesn't ask. She conquers. If this resonates with you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and join me as we uncover the 8 rules every woman needs to apply if she truly wants to conquer it all. Rule 1. I stopped accepting less than I deserve. For a long time, I accepted crumbs. At work, in relationships, in my own choices, I settled for less because I believed that's all I could get, that I shouldn't ask for too much, that maybe it was just being unrealistic. And that silent conformity kept eating away at my self-confidence. It was only when I stopped to honestly observe that I realized no one is going to give me what I don't demand of myself. Accepting less isn't humility. It's a lack of clarity about who I am and what I deserve. So I made a pact. I would never again normalize situations that made me smaller. That didn't mean living arrogantly or ungratefully. It meant being loyal to myself. If something didn't honor me, I said no. If an opportunity didn't reflect my value, I went after another. If a relationship drained me more than it nourished me, I walked away. At first it was painful, because I was used to shrinking myself to fit into any space. But once I started repositioning myself, the world responded differently. New doors opened. New people came into my life. And most importantly, I truly began respecting myself. Today I don't accept less. Not because I'm overly demanding, but because I finally understand my worth. Comment, I don't accept less than I deserve, if you've also decided to stop settling and started raising your standards. Rule 2. I learned to set clear boundaries. For a long time, I confused kindness with having no boundaries. I said yes just to avoid disappointing people, accepted invitations that drained me, took on responsibilities that weren't mine. On the inside, I felt exhausted, but on the outside, I smiled as if everything was fine. And that contradiction kept pulling me further away from myself, until I realized saying no isn't a lack of love, it's an excess of love for myself, and that women who truly conquer it all aren't the ones who burn out for everyone else, but the ones who know where they begin and where they end. I started practicing this rule little by little. The first time I said no, without over-explaining, I trembled inside. I thought I'd lose people, lose space. But over time I realized that those who truly respect me understand my boundaries, and those who don't never should have had that much access to me in the first place. Today my boundaries are clear. I don't answer calls at odd hours just because I can. I don't accept demands that compromise my peace. I don't share my energy with those who only want to take. My boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. They don't isolate me, but they filter what comes in. And that filter is what keeps me whole, strong, and aligned with who I'm becoming. Comment, my boundaries protect me. If you've also realized that loving yourself means, above all, protecting yourself. Rule 3. I raised my standards and never looked back. For a long time, I kept adapting to whatever was available. If it was a mediocre job, I accepted it. If it was a lukewarm relationship, I stayed in it. If it was an exhausting routine, I told myself, that's just how it is. And the more I accepted, the more life gave me exactly that, the bare minimum. It was only when I decided to raise my standards that the game began to change. Women who conquer it all don't settle for the basics. They know they deserve more, and they live accordingly. Raising my standards didn't mean becoming a perfectionist. It meant refusing to tolerate what pulled me away from the life I wanted. I started caring for my body with more presence, managing my finances with more seriousness, investing my time in learning that strengthened me. At first, it felt strange. Some people said I was being too demanding, but the truth is, when you raise the bar, many things and many people won't reach it anymore. And that's okay, because what doesn't reach you also doesn't serve you. Today, my standards are my compass. They remind me every day that I don't need to accept what diminishes me, and that the bare minimum will never be enough for someone who has already experienced the greatness of self-respect. Comment, I raise my standards every day, if you've also decided not to look back after discovering the power of valuing yourself. Rule 4. I turned discipline into an act of self-love. For a long time, I saw discipline as a prison. I thought being disciplined meant giving up my freedom, living limited by rules. So I kept postponing commitments, procrastinating decisions, wasting energy on improvisation. And in the end, the feeling was always the same: exhaustion and frustration. That's when I understood something essential. Discipline doesn't trap me. It frees me. It keeps me from living in constant firefighting mode. It spares me from the guilt of not doing what I knew I needed to do. It brings me peace because it organizes my chaos. Once I flipped that switch, I realized discipline is actually a profound act of self-love. It's when I choose to take care of myself, even if my impulses want something else. It's when I think about my future with the same care I think about my present. It's when I prove to myself that I am capable of sustaining the woman I'm becoming. I started with small choices: going to bed earlier, organizing my money at the start of the month, studying a little every day. These simple habits built a foundation I never had before. Today, discipline isn't a burden. It's part of my identity. It reminds me that I deserve the results that come from consistent effort, not from luck. Comment: my discipline is my self-care. If you've also realized that getting organized is loving yourself in motion. Rule 5. I learned to choose my environments consciously. For a long time, I believed I was strong enough not to be influenced by what was around me. I thought I could handle negative conversations, people who constantly complained, or environments where mediocrity was the norm, without being affected. But the truth is, little by little, I became just like that. That's when I realized environment shapes identity. And women who conquer it all don't put themselves in spaces that sabotage their growth. They don't think they're better than anyone else, but they understand that every place carries an energy, and that energy either lifts you up or drains you. So I decided to choose my environments consciously. I started filtering conversations more carefully, selecting the content I consume, staying close to people who challenge me to think bigger. At first, it was uncomfortable, because it meant stepping away from old habits and even from dear people. But if I wanted to become a greater version of myself, I had to pay the price of change. Today, my environments reflect my goals. They remind me of the woman I'm building and reinforce every day that I don't need to go back. I understood that it's not just about where I am physically, but also about what I allow into my mind. Comment: my environment reflects my next level. If you've also decided to stop adapting to small places and started choosing spaces that expand you. Rule 6. I learned to say no without guilt. I've lost count of how many times I said yes when I really wanted to say no. And I accepted invitations I didn't want, lent money I couldn't afford, took on commitments that drained me, and all because I was afraid of disappointing people, of being seen as selfish, of losing my place in their lives. But with every forced yes, I was saying no to myself. That's when I realized those who don't know how to say no end up living a life they never chose. And women who conquer it all aren't afraid to set clear boundaries. They know their energy, time, and money are far too valuable to waste. At first, it was hard. My heart would race every time I said no. But with time, I understood I didn't need to justify myself so much. My no was enough. And those who truly respect me also respect my boundaries. Learning to say no gave me something I had never truly experienced before: peace. Because I was no longer carrying responsibilities that weren't mine. And that peace created space for me to focus on what really matters. Today, I know that every no I say is actually a powerful yes to the life I want to build. Comment: my no is sacred. If you've also realized that standing your ground doesn't push valuable people away, it only attracts those who truly respect you. Rule 7. I turned consistency into my greatest superpower. I always started full of energy. A new goal, a new project, a new routine. In the first few days, I was flawless. But as soon as the excitement faded, everything fell apart. I gave up too quickly, then told myself, I don't have discipline. But the truth wasn't a lack of discipline. It was a lack of consistency. I confused intensity with constancy. And women who conquer it all don't rely on bursts of energy. They rely on small actions, repeated every single day. So I decided to stay loyal to the process, even without immediate big results. I started small, managing my finances weekly, studying a little every day, finishing my minimum goals before any distraction. And little by little, I realized consistency has a silent effect. It builds roots. These roots don't show at first, but they're what sustain every harvest in the future. Today, I understand my power doesn't lie in what I do when I'm excited, but in what I keep doing when the excitement is gone. Consistency gave me something motivation never did: real results. Now, my greatest pride isn't what I achieve all at once, but what I sustain day after day. Comment: my consistency is my superpower. If you've also decided that doing little, but always, is worth more than starting big and quitting halfway. Rule 8. I learned to prioritize myself without guilt. For years, I put everyone ahead of me. Family, friends, coworkers, even people I barely knew. I believed that being a good woman meant always being available, always ready, always focused on others' needs. But inside, I was running on empty. And when I looked at my own life, I realized it wasn't moving forward because I was never a priority on my own list. It was a shock to realize no one would put me first if I didn't do it myself, and that taking care of me wasn't selfish. It was responsibility. If I wasn't well, how could I truly support others? I began prioritizing myself in small gestures, reserving guilt-free time to rest, treating my body like a temple, saying not now to demands that could wait, and most importantly, investing in myself, in learning, in experiences, in choices that strengthened me. At first, some people were surprised, but over time I understood that those who truly love me prefer to see me whole, not constantly available. And I began respecting myself even more. Today, my life doesn't revolve around pleasing. It revolves around growing. And when I grow, I naturally have so much more to offer to those around me. Comment: I prioritize myself without guilt. If you've also realized that putting yourself first is the foundation of any true achievement. If there's one thing I've learned from applying these rules, it's that conquering it all isn't about luck or waiting for the right time. It's about deciding not to live in comfort anymore, setting clear boundaries, raising standards, and sustaining daily the version of yourself you choose to be. Each of these rules was born from practice, not theory, from the discomfort of living on autopilot and the courage to say, enough. I had to disappoint expectations, let go of old habits, and often walk alone. But that's what made me realize the woman who conquers isn't the one who asks for permission. She's the one who sets her own conditions. You don't need to change everything at once, but you do need to start and sustain, because life will always give you exactly what you tolerate. If you settle, you get crumbs. If you take a stand, you open space for everything you deserve. These 8 rules became my foundation. And if today I look around and see results, it's because back then I decided not to accept less. Comment: I chose to live by rules that elevate me. If you've also realized that conquering it all is the natural result of respecting yourself first, and if this content brought you clarity, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share it with another woman who's also ready to leave comfort behind and conquer her best self.